Hello and welcome to LeisureCast. My name is Brian Krogsgaard, here with Josh Olszewicz. Hey, Josh.
Mr. Brian, always good to be here.
It's good to be with you, sir. How are you doing?
Good. Just wishing we could harken back to the days when the Fed didn't matter as much as it does.
I don't know. It's like
For crypto.
we're supposed to be different, you know? Like we're supposed to just not care about these things, live in our own little world, and now we just are just another freaking market. We made it to the big leagues, and we realized the big leagues suck. Now just correlate to everything else out there and trying to squeeze tiny little 10% moves up or down to make our year. Where's our moon, Josh? Where's our $100,000 Bitcoin, $500,000 Bitcoin? Promises were made, stock to flow models were created, but I don't know. Like we're not even outperforming freaking oil.
We go through periods of coupling and decoupling and to multiple things, obviously, and everybody's been talking about the legacy traditional coupling between crypto and BTC recently. But we were heavily correlated with the 10-year at one point. We're not so much anymore. Is that going to come back? A lot of people are looking at that as a possibility as far as righting the ship.
The rolling
BTC
correlations.
I have the gold performance up here from 2021 just because I saw this yesterday, I think. And it just reminded me, I'm glad we're actually not digital gold right now because gold did terrible in 2021.
Yeah.
As a relative, what you'd expect. I guess like my plebeian view of gold and inflation, it doesn't jive with the performance of gold. Is it leading? Is it lagging? I don't know. I don't care. I don't pay attention to it other than talking about it. But it's just funny how gold kind of did nothing in 2021.
Yeah. One of the markets we've, at least from a cyclical viewpoint, our last two cycles have coincided with pretty well was this big start of the 2017 bull run was the dollar or the Dixie dumpening, and the market topped when the Dixie bottomed, ground its way up, and then it bottomed somewhere in this chop, but the Dixie March COVID highs marked the real big run up for crypto again, and lo and behold, we've had this dollar rise since then. This is indicative that we were due essentially for a bear market of sorts to start back in May, which for Bitcoin was true, right? So the advantages in Bitcoin were not good in crypto. Other stuff ran, but now where are we? We're at a decision point on the Dixie. So are we in the middle of the bear market and we don't know it for Bitcoin? This would kind of insinuate that that's true, and I find that interesting. Yeah, so maybe I think this is at least a good signal that to support what we've already talked about a lot is we're probably not going anywhere fast. We're probably not going to make significant new highs or anything this year, supportive of the range, whatever. We're somewhere in this type of equivalent. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it depends how zoomed out you want to get. If you want to zoom out to 2013 and look at where we could go from here, things look great. If you zoom out to 2021 and you look at the range we're still in, then obviously things look a bit slower than previously because we're still in the range. And if we're not in the range, or if we're not doing anything until we're out of the range, is basically my viewpoint. So yeah, yes, it's 30 to 60, but the trend may shift. The trend may go bullish or bearish intra range, but ultimately the range will decide for me when it's going to be up or down, right? If it's going to be below the range or above the range. That's like saying a bunch of nothing, but it's just commenting.
Well, we're in no man's land. There is
right. There is no general bias here, I don't think, until we're out of this range.
I came to a conclusion today because I think you can still trade the range. It doesn't make it useless. But I traded the range pretty well. I don't know the BTC equivalents, but for Ethereum, like I made significant buys in the kind of 2100 range, and I was in and out variety of points before, but I was like, you know, when we were on weekly open, and I was like, "This is your moment," all that crap. It was literally the bottom wick for ETH, and what I realized is we've had a couple of weeks of like really nice movements, and I don't want to let that retrace and lose it. So it's like on my upside, I think we'll find real resistance, 3,400 to 3,600, somewhere in there, certainly by the 200-day moving average. So I'm looking at this 200-day moving average as we might go tap that type of thing. But downside is like mid 2Ks for ETH. Maybe we even go worse and make lower lows. And I was like, just the risk reward ratio is not very good for me right now. So I'm kind of easing out. Like I'm going to have exposure into that 200-day, and then maybe that's when I'll really reduce my exposure more. But it's the market. I'm a little cautious in the market right now, and it makes me sad because I was in the long camp, and I was very happy with that. Went well. And I realized like I'm trying to, I'm staying past my due to the party, I think. So, got me a little cautious, a little risk off over here, Josh.
Well, we talked about repairing the technical damage of the past 3 months. Like that's going to take a while.
Yeah.
So I think everybody's excited, obviously, because things are up so much from the bottom. ETH is up, what, 50% plus from the bottom now? 44. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was like
It was a
it
heck
was
of
like
a move.
55. So it's not out of the question that things slow down even here a little bit. On low time frames, on the 4 hour, I like this potential right shoulder setup, and this had inverted head and shoulders coming. Volume doesn't really match, whatever. I don't care. But this, I like the way this could look in the next couple weeks, maybe. Like this may take a week, it may take 2 weeks. I don't know.
I don't like when those levels are droopy like that though, because you don't actually make an equal high or a higher high. You're just it's like kind of a head and shoulders, But when they when they droop like that, they give me less confidence.
That's the what's his face argument. He doesn't like diagonal anything.
Cred?
No.
Peter Brandt?
Peter Brandt, yeah. I'm not going to disagree with that. Any chart pattern that's strictly horizontal or whatever has better I don't know, probability outcomes in general. But it's not there. That's always my argument. Like I can't not see it, just like you can't not see whatever this thing was up here, even though it's a mess, right? So yeah, I think we cool off a little bit in the low time frames, and ultimately, whatever your personal barometer is for bullishness or bearishness, for me, it's always going to be the cloud. That's not going to change. So when I see where we're sitting in the cloud on the daily for ETH and BTC, and where we need to go yet, like we're in no rush to go anywhere. If we're above 35 by April, that's a huge win on the cloud. So
yeah,
between now and April is the millennia for crypto, I know, but if we can pattern this out and drag it on into Q2, that ultimately is win-win, because then you have pattern on your side, you have chart on your side, and you have seasonality on your side for a move into Q2. Because historically, everything does best on Q2. Not so much ETH, but altcoins in general.
Is there any front running of that, or like when do you actually start to look to engage that type of trade? Before Q1?
I would definitely focus on the chart pattern on low time frames. At least that's what I'll be doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. This may pop now. This may pop never. But you can sort of see a similar setup. BTC, it kind of went early, whereas ETH, it took some time here. This was what, 5 days, 6 days. So this may pop 6 days from now. I don't know. But ultimately, if we can get this series of events going into Q2, post tax season, post Fed nonsense, whatever, survive rate hikes, I don't know. Who the hell knows what's going on in that department? But that's what I'd love to see going into Q2. Because
Yeah.
for me, Q1 is kind of just a wash in general.
Well, there's some stuff that's just inherently true, right? Like rates will go up and liquidity will be taken out of legacy systems. So it's challenging because you're like, well, how do you make adjustments there, right? That's just facts of a market that will exist, and those are therefore headwinds. So at what point does that become priced in to where people are done considering the hikes and identifying liquidity changes, adjustments? The Fed is not buying as much, and then the Fed stops buying altogether, or whatever, and it starts to reverse course, and that's what makes me think that we can take a while. And I hate that. I don't. It's so boring. It's so boring. I want to do something fun. Like we got to go find. We got to go find the exciting parts of the market.
But even May, June, July, that took a quarter, right? Like that took a long time. So even calling like bullishness by April is probably a little too optimistic here.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd love to be right and say things will be fine by April because it's starting to look like that's certainly the case. But I'll take a W double bottom here too, right? Like let's say there's some massive hike, emergency hike nonsense, and we game theory this out, and this drops back down to 23. Yeah, I'll buy down there. I'll get back in. Why not? Could I be wrong? Sure, but so that's for me on ETH. That's the levels that I like. Either the lows or just wait for this pattern to play out because the pattern has the cloud on its side going into April.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's boring. It's wait and see. It's do nothing. Be sort of hypersensitive to any near-term volatility. And like if you're out, you want downward volatility so you can get back in, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that looks quite bad that you're looking at, like that cloud view.
Well, what do you mean bad?
Well, not up. Down is bad.
Of course, it's Q1. Q1 is not good. Q1 is just not good. Sorry, it just isn't.
This is
even ETH historically has done better in the first half of the year. But look at ETH BTC. It's getting trounced lately. Let's pull that up. It's getting destroyed. Here's the 10-year versus BTC, just real quick. I'd love to see this recouple, this like correlation come back. But anyway, what are we looking at? ETH BTC.
Mm-hmm.
Over the past week, isn't it down like a bunch of percent? Or am I crazy?
Yeah. What's worse about it is it's under some technical levels that are important to me.
Like, this looks like it's going nowhere fast too, right?
Yeah, going nowhere fast is the way to put it.
So maybe this is some sort of flag thing, wedge. Yeah. I don't know. Who the hell knows?
Yeah. When I look at it, I see it consolidating under the 200-day, which I never like. And then I go to the weekly, and it's under the 20-week. So, unfortunately, when I look at this, and it's like, well, that's just a sign that shouldn't be where your exposure is right now. And over 0.076, it looks much better. But when you go to each of these charts and none of them look particularly compelling, that just, it's not fun. It's not as fun.
I agree. I'd rather take a stab at something I think looks like it has a bias or a breakout point than just like sort of sit in a levered trade in like Topium. I don't know. like, yeah, it looks sad. It looks unexciting. It looks uninspired. ETH BTC specifically.
So our precious bottom was two weeks lived. Week 3 is now flat for Ethereum. So we got maybe 10, 12 good days out of this move.
It's just, again, I'd expect if you were truly bullish on ETH and you were a believer in the future of Ethereum, wouldn't you want to be buying here? Am I crazy? Like, where's all the bulls here for Ethereum? Look at the on-chain activity. It's insane compared to BTC. Look at the fees. It's like 4 times BTC. Where are all the ETH bulls? Huh? Where
Huh?
are they?
Huh?
Anybody?
Huh?
Anybody? Like, like now's the time, guys. Let's get ETH moving. But I guess it's priced in. I don't know. How do you rationalize that?
I just think it takes time. Things can stay relatively irrational. So ETH 2.0 is not actually alive yet, so the fees are still high. So the regular Joes are not actually doing as much participation, and what participation they do have is hamstrung by those high fees. So your kind of notional buyer is just not really there, like notional retail buyer. So I think you probably do have some like larger money accumulation that's occurring, or shifting from assets that have done really well to assets that have a significant, interesting future. Like I always look at Sol ETH because you saw that ETH BTC chart. Now observe the Sol ETH, and it's like, okay, well, that's not good. It's worse than because it's compounded. So if you have heavy exposure to this and you're like liquid, then why wouldn't you reduce that exposure for things that are more sure, more firm? So I think some of the accumulation that's going on is like out of the trades that did well before and into trades that there's more, I don't know, like long-term certainty for. I think that's some of it. And I think also there's just probably overall money still leaving the system that we're not identifying well. Do you do it? Have you been tracking any on-chain flows or anything?
Yeah, I can pull it up. Um, like ETH flows are sitting at levels, all-time high levels from 2017 or something, as far as transactions.
But that's transactions. Isn't there one of those places that'll kind of make some estimates of like new money in to exchanges, or like, Ethereum going off of exchange, that kind of thing? How do we normally tell those flows? Are they
Well,
polls?
we can look at net flows. This isn't the right chart, I don't think. Is it?
Transfer volume to and from exchanges. Yeah, that's about right. From and to. Which one's from and which one's to?
Inflow, outflow. I thought this was. I don't know, but there's a chart showing this. This doesn't look like it's the correct one though. Yeah, we can look at all this stuff, but like, does it matter at the end of the day? Does it really matter? Like, does dormancy matter? Like, I love this. We're still talking about dormancy. It's like, does dormancy matter?
Well, what matters is money going back to banks, right? Like if you could.
But what do you want to look at for that? Do you want to look at like exchange balances?
Yeah, something like that might be helpful.
We can check that.
I think there's some hidden contraction out there, I guess is my point, which also is sensible, right? Like people are paying taxes. That's what you do at this time of year.
But there isn't. That's the thing. Like if you look at exchange balance, assuming this data is correct, which is again sensitive, but assuming the data is correct, if supply is declining, you'd expect price to have a better reaction than it is. This is we're at like multi-year lows of exchange balance, and this is just another way of thinking about dormancy as well, because it's being squirreled away somewhere. It's not sitting on exchanges.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's the great accumulation before Destiny at 33K ETH.
I don't know if I'd say that, but
yeah, I think we will have a very nice trend, but you kind of get stuck in these doldrums, right?
Yeah, and ETH's exchange balances are the same. They're flat, they're down. There's like 9 million plus ETH on ETH 2.0 staking. Like, I'm not expecting this to be crazy bullish, but you'd expect, I think, a little different picture looking at those metrics compared to just looking at the price.
Yeah.
Like, am I crazy here?
No, you're not. Hey, I
Like
heard on
Go ahead.
another technical podcast for legacy markets. Um, I heard the host talking about how the S&P was a perfect 0.618 retrace, and I had not noticed that the day that it like pelted up, and then another day where it went up and then faded the whole thing. That was yesterday, wasn't it? Losing my track of time. And I think that's just another potential signal that like that market's going to chop around at best. It's got a lot of overhead sitting here at the 20-week. Now, you talk about potential head and shoulders. This one stands out to me if I wanted to be that guy drawing those, which I do right now. Whether you look at it on a closing basis or a wick basis or whatever else, like some kind of right shoulder retest down makes sense to me. Under the middle band, Bollinger Bands, there's still sector weakness. The bounces have been weak, and then like the outperformance is narrow, and that's kind of what fits into this narrative of not going anywhere fast. Commodities still doing really well. Gold looks really good.
I don't know. Everybody seems super scared and sensitive to anything these 12 guys or the Fed say, whoever.
I'm not just saying the Fed. I'm saying like this is.
I know, but I'm just saying in general. Like it's like we can comment all we want on X, Y, Z, but ultimately,
like look at this weekly Q's chart for the Nasdaq and tell me you want to hold this. I don't want to hold that.
Just not knowing what that is.
Yeah, on a desert.
In my deserted island, yeah.
Yeah, on a deserted island. Also in a desert. Sure, in a desert or on a deserted island, whichever one. I'm like completely out of it today. Do you want to hold this? My answer is no. I'm like stay far away. What's your answer?
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look as bad as ranging Bitcoin and ranging ETH. You know, that there's at least some safety in the range, but when you have like trend reversal like that,
yeah, you don't know what'll even establish the range. Like, did it establish the range on that low, or is that, could the range be established back to this level? The more you ping around it, the more certainty you get about the range. IWM also kind of retesting where it broke down from. Actually, it's almost a perfect retest. So it makes me wonder if it has potential continuation downwards. Once again, Bernie Sanders meme. I look around and I ask, where is the chart that looks good? That's all I wanted to know. And I always come back to the same stuff. Freaking gold looks good. And oil looks good. Look at oil. You just up only from negative.
From zero to hero.
Yeah.
Oil's just gonna like do its own thing, right? Based on the cartel.
I guess, but it's crazy. It's crazy. I think it's going super, super high. I did not get oil exposure today. I wanted to, but I didn't. I just did gold instead because I'd rather buy a dump on oil. And plus, getting exposure to oil is best with futures markets. But I just the amount of mayhem this creates if it just supermoons is so high. The likelihood for more aggressive rate stuff is higher. So much goes wrong in that circumstance. But anyway, nevertheless,
I think it's definitely significant political pressure. Yeah, I don't know. There's no good outcomes here, I don't think, for anybody.
There's some good comments on the chat. Should have went all in when it went negative. Oil's bad for the environment. NFTs fix this. Oil to 1,000. The estimates I've heard from some, degenerate traders are quite high. Like 100 plus a barrel is conservative in my mind. It's already at 92. What's the difference? That's another 10%. I think it can go 200 plus. 200 plus would be kind of the equivalent of the prior all-time highs from 2008 when you adjust for inflation or whatever it is. Coffee chart looks good. JRC says coffee's going to get more expensive. It's not good for me. Yeah, I don't know. Like commodities pumping. The hardest crypto money on earth is not. Cope. We're just coping.
Well, back to what I said earlier, like, I don't think it's going to happen like in a day, but like we can already start to see the micro decouplings going on between legacy and crypto. It certainly seemed to snap back together this week as far as decoupling and coupling, whatever, but I'm not just looking for stuff here either. Like there was clearly an area.
Yeah, it just shows up.
We said, oh, hey, this is us. I don't know why.
So we're outperforming a little bit right now. And are we going to catch up to the downside if everything tanks a little bit? Or
this is a misleading chart for performance, but for correlations, it makes sense.
Yeah,
just because these are all different.
Right.
But
it's just reflexivity is over.
We just don't want to be correlated with legacy. I don't know how else to say it. We just don't want to be correlated with legacy. It breaks down the whole narrative around crypto existing in the first place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're this decoupled portfolio diversifier, and that's certainly not been the case so much over the past however many months. Definitely.
Wow. So I pulled up this coffee index, and it is truly up, like very, very bullish. That's amazing. My coffee is more expensive. Sad.
Yeah, I think, what is it? USCI was what I was looking at. Is the US Commodities Index or something? I've never heard of this until the other day, but
yeah, I mean it's
just
going nuts.
Mood. Yeah,
but this is we shouldn't be too surprised. Like it's a completely unloved world. The tech percentage that's of the stock market was so high. Energy was down to all-time lows in terms of like makeup of the S&P 500. Commodities have been such an unloved space that it doesn't take much to move them, and it doesn't take much in terms of outflows to start having a significant impact. So, it looks very clearly to me like you're seeing outflows from tech stuff and growth stuff to value stuff.
Well, when do we see those outflows into crypto?
Well, it depends. Are they value? Is crypto value? Is crypto growth? It's acting like growth. Yeah, all crypto is acting like growth, like Bitcoin included.
Depends if you want to zoom out or not, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just not a fun time to be sitting here waiting for stuff,
Yeah. Is there any news out there, Josh? Is there anything we can talk about that's fun?
The Bitfinex hacker stuff.
Oh yeah.
Did we talk about that yet?
No, we didn't. What an absolute gem her videos are. So let's just lean into it a bit. Do you have any news stories that you can pick up? So a couple was arrested in New York for orchestrating something in regard to the Bitfinex hack. At a minimum, it appeared they had the keys stored in a public document or a cloud-based document. So the feds were able to move the coins, right? And then take custody of the coins and then arrest this couple for, I don't know, conspiracy to launder money or something like that. They didn't get them for theft outright yet. But turns out these people are a really flamboyant couple. She has Heather Morgan is her name. Thank you, chat. All these crazy videos. She's a rapper, goes by Razzle Dazzle or something like that. She's a very bad rapper. Her husband just takes videos of her doing these things, I guess. She was in cybersecurity in some regard. There's this crazy tweet from BitGo sharing an article that she wrote for BitGo. And then, of course, the Bitfinex hack was related to BitGo. So it's just this absolute chaos, perfect kind of movie scenario, right? Like, so this based on a true story crime thing. Like, they just write themselves. Like, you couldn't even write them this well. You would not believe it, but it's the real deal. Innocent until proven guilty, but it looks like they were involved in some capacity or another, and yeah, here we are.
Yeah, they who's that guy? Is it Ben Mesrick who wrote? I think he wrote Social Network. Maybe not. He wrote the Winklevi book. Anyway, like 100%, somebody's already writing a screenplay about all this because it's going to be a movie eventually, for sure. The number is too big, 3 billion, 4.5 billion, whatever it is. The number's big enough that it's just going to catch people's attention. So, yeah, that's definitely going to be a movie one day.
Dutch Liechtenstein is the husband's name.
Now they were like somewhat adjacent to crypto Twitter-ish and like in the crypto community, but I'm kind of surprised they weren't a bigger part of it. And I think we'll find out that they were like in some way, like some pseudonymous something like that. That's my guess. I think they're pretty close to crypto in general. Because she had like a .eth address or something.
Yeah, right? Like raz.eth or something. I mean, anyway, but at the same time, they're private keys and like a list of all of the addresses that they control. They were just in this document. Another hilarious thing was it was rzk.e. Thank you. Another thing that was funny was that apparently when they were arrested, there was just this bag of phones with a label on it that said burner phones. It was like on their computer they had a file that was like passport ideas. Like, how stupid can you be? It's almost like they had no awareness of the billions they had, or that, I don't understand. Maybe it's a psyop. Maybe they're feds. It's just so crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that they'd be capable of the act, but incapable of
the cover up. Not just incapable, but like completely oblivious. Somebody was telling me there was a write-up about like when they actually arrested her. She was like pretending she was trying to get her cat to do something as they were arresting her, but then she like leaned over her bedside table where her phone was and tried to like press the lock button a whole bunch of times to get it to lock down in a different way. I don't know, man. So funny. Yeah. Crypto Jimis says they're in over their head, and surely like I hope the actual truth comes out at some point. Because the story's so good. Yeah.
I think it will come out. I think it's known. It's just been under wraps because the investigation's been active. But I'm pretty sure they know like how everything went down. They just haven't released it because they haven't caught the people yet.
Yeah, Mr. Alcatraz says, do I really trust the official narrative? And my answer is no, I really don't. But it's like, I want to know the real story. Like what the heck is the real story?
I think we'll find out as soon as the money changes hands.
It seems like surely somebody else is involved, right? Like surely.
That's what I said, because looking at these two people, it's like there's no way.
Or are they gigabrains and like the happy idiot act was just an act? Like that would also be clever.
I don't know. It's bizarre, honestly. It's very bizarre.
Indeed. But it was a lot of entertainment.
Tons of entertainment. It's a win for crypto in the eyes of law enforcement because it's traceable, Yeah. Between this and like the wormhole thing, it paints like this false insurance on like, oh, anything bad's going to get fixed. But at the same time, it also shows that like there's a willingness and a want to like right the wrongs of crypto that have happened. So I think that's like it makes it so that you're not on your own. Like if something goes bad, I don't know. It comes with its pluses and minuses, I guess. But even the Bitfinex stuff initially with the debt token got figured out versus Mt. Gox, which is eventually going to get figured out.
Oh, and Leo mooned off of all this.
Yeah, Leo did moon, but it's becoming less wild west. I guess is my point as things like this keep happening.
Yeah. So
they will find you and they will bring you in. That's the moral of the story.
there were somebody saw coins moving. Amazingly enough, Leo had this incredible consolidation that had been going on since last May. And it was almost to its all-time highs at 380-ish. And when those coins moved, some smart people, like it was like one BTC or something. It was like it looked like a test transaction. And when that happened, some clever people, Loomdart included, Loomdart might be a Fed too, talked about it. And then, it pumped a little more. When the official news came out, it went from like $4.80 to $8 or something. And yeah, I mean, it's just incredible. So now Leo holders,
it's super thinly traded too.
It is thinly traded, but Leo
holders,
holders,
reason, it had a reason to move, and Leo holders are going to make money or whatever is going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
Because they have like some mandate to buy Leo because Leo exists to make those folks whole, and now they're not just whole; they're much more than whole. Like they're way up relative to the Bitfinex Hack value of the time. So anyway, there's an interesting solution to a hack and not having the funds, and a positive outcome for those customers. And I kind of wonder, like, how's this set a precedent for the future? How's it set a precedent even for like Wormhole, which is a similar concept? Yeah. And no, Dale, Dale, I do not have a low-key crush on the Bitfinex hacker. She disturbs me.
The Wormhole thing's slightly different. They didn't recover the funds, but they were paid. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's good optics at the very least for people who like aren't in crypto, have no clue what the hell's going on here. They just assume it's like, straight wild west. We're growing up. We had a bunch of hearings as well this week, which were, I don't know if anybody listened to them besides me, but
These were the stablecoin hearings, right?
One was a stablecoin hearing. One was a digital asset hearing. We're getting better in what politicians think about crypto. Definitely far from perfect, but it's definitely better than what it was of years past. I think that's really the biggest takeaway for me. Like, it's going to take time for them to fully comprehend the benefits of everything, but we're getting there slowly, for sure. And they're still concerned about mining energy. They're still concerned about Tether. Like, Tether comes up in every other sentence to them. So those are definitely still the big issues. So
it's Friday. I wonder if we're going to have the same outcome this weekend as last weekend, which is the market like turns off. Bitcoin just went completely flat for 2 days. And I wonder if we're about to do the same thing. We really seem unwilling to go any direction on the weekend right now.
Yeah, that supports the coupling narrative, if anything, that we don't do anything on the weekends, and it's all just like high institutional U.S. trading volumes versus any retail.
Yeah, and then finally,
retail in inflation, retail gets crushed, right? Retail can't trade because they don't have this excess income. Like, am I wrong here, or is the opposite true, where they like gamble more because inflation's higher?
I think there is excess income still, kinda, but less, right? People spent it all, lost it all in meme stocks. I don't know if we know the answer to that yet, but I guess we're done sending out inflation or stimmy checks, aren't we? Is that a thing of the past now?
I think so. I don't know what it would take to make that happen again.
Yeah. And then finally, there's the Super Bowl this weekend. Going to be a bunch of crypto ads. We already know eToro, FTX, Crypto.com, several others. You and I have an over under between kind of 6 and 7, right? You chose 6, I chose 7. I can't remember. But I guess we don't think that's going to have a significant impact on the market as a whole, but maybe some attention on crypto if it ends up being, like the review of the Super Bowl is basically like, oh yeah, there's a football game and a bunch of crypto commercials.
It was funny because the senators and the House representatives brought up the Super Bowl commercials a lot too, because their main concern is we're putting this new casino in retail's attention and people are getting hurt by it. Like that's their response.
Maybe this is my middle IQ on the same page as theirs.
So yeah, I think we're gonna see more commercials than we even know, like more than 10 at this point. I know we said 7 last week, but
you're up in the ante.
Based on what I'm seeing, like OpenSea is probably gonna have one.
I don't think they will.
No,
I think Coinbase will though.
Well, yeah, Coinbase. They already have one for the Olympics, right? Coinbase NFT or something.
Oh, did they already do an NFT commercial? I just think I wouldn't be surprised if they launched their NFT initiative this week.
I think you're going to see metaverse, this, that, and the other thing for all these random companies.
Eddie in the chat says he's guessing a metaverse halftime show. That would be so cringe and so good.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's good or bad for crypto, but it's happening. I don't think anybody can do anything to stop it at this point.
Yeah. All right. So we only like one rock, and it's the gold one this week.
If I'm on a deserted island, I'm looking at charts side by side.
You would choose the rock.
And I didn't want anything to move super quickly. The rock looks okay. I think if crypto can stay neutral into Q2 at the very least, I think we'll be fine.
There we go. Josh, thank you for being here. Chat, thank you for being here. Sorry we don't have much else for you. This might be what it's like all 2022. We'll have to come up with new things to talk about with the charts. They're just bouncing between boring levels. We will see, but we're glad that you're here. We'll see you next time. Check us out on YouTube if you want to catch the replays or audio apps and all that. See ya.
Monuments crumble in the blink of an eye. The easy river has just run dry. In a house of cards